had just been published a couple of months ago. Religion in Britain is declining, and it has been on very steep decline for a number of decades now, and the trajectory is to continue the decline. But the one religion that isn't declining in Britain is Islam. I was in Birmingham a couple of days ago. I was talking to this guy, Azra Rashid, and he's the author of this book, Islam Answers Atheism, which I really recommend, by the way. Birmingham is probably Britain's second city. He said to me about 40% of people in Birmingham are Muslims now. That's a very high percentage. The first generation of Muslims arrived, in the 1950s, 1960s. They weren't necessarily practicing Muslims. They had children, obviously. So I said to him about Professor Linda Woodhead, religion's on the decline, secularism, materialism. What about Muslim youth in Britain, in Birmingham, in Britain's second city? Are they praying? Are they fasting? Oh yeah, they're more religious than their parents. So what we're seeing in England when it comes to Muslims is not only are the youth holding to their faith and they're praying 5 times a day and they're increasingly religious, more than their own parents. Now that is incredible. And someone told me who knows from Germany, because I thought, wow, isn't England amazing? Oh no, it's like that in Germany, it's like that in other places as well. In Europe, Muslims are not losing their faith, but the younger ones are holding on to it, and that's good for the future.
What would you like to say to encourage people who are watching this video and are considering Islam but are hesitant about it?
Someone I know who was a Church of England priest. He was a priest for some time in a church here in London. And he said when he embraced Islam, he discovered a depth of friendship and brotherhood that he'd never experienced as a Christian. And I've discovered that too. In Christian churches, you're kind of friendly, but the kind of depth of brotherhood amongst Muslims is something else. You're not going to be on your own if you embrace Islam. You're going to have this global family, basically. But also, what does Islam offer? Well, a chance to have connection and relationship with our Creator. And that we have a purpose in being here. We're not here just to acquire material goods. We're very materialistic in Britain and in America. But we're not focused really on what really matters. There's a guy who's basically a coach to entrepreneurs, businessmen. He's not a Muslim. There's a LinkedIn post that he put up yesterday. He says that getting yourself healthy is a fight against modern living. And what he means is modern living, at least in the Western world, has contributed, he says, to staggering rates of obesity and mental illness. The way we're living now, mainly in the West, but is being exported, is actually causing us lethal diseases like obesity. I was in Bahrain last year. It's the #1 cause of death in that country, is obesity. They're now experiencing this consumer culture, which comes from America and Britain, and mental illness as well. Now, what's this got to do with Islam? Fasting is really important. It's just on a physical level. It helps to rejuvenate your body. It makes you better to cope with disease. It makes you fitter and healthier. It affects your mental health. So fasting is part of the sunnah of the Prophet. Was it Mondays and Thursdays he fasted? This is really healthy. Muslims have been doing this for centuries. The idea of mental illness. We are obsessed with dunya. We're obsessed with TikTok. Obsessed with material goods. Islam gives you a deeper, satisfying relationship with what really matters, which is with our Creator. And also and the knowledge that this life is brief and that our true purpose lies beyond this life in the next life. Islam is what we call a deen. It's a complete way of life that includes the mental, the physical, the diet, the spiritual, the economic, the political. It doesn't separate religion out to the private realm. This is the supreme answer to humanity's needs. We're not going down that path at the moment, at least in many parts.
For someone who wants to learn about Islam, how would you recommend him to research it? Is it enough to write "What is Islam" on Google?
I don't recommend you use Google because you may get some good results. You're going to get a lot of bad results as well. And how are you going to know what's a good result and a bad result if you don't know about the subject? So what I do recommend, however, because I like books, this particular book, there are many books I could recommend, but this one's good, by Jonathan Brown, called Misquoting Muhammad, The Challenge and Choices of Interpreting the Prophet's Legacy. And this is an excellent introduction to the whole subject of Islam, the Quran, is it authentic, the history of the life of the Prophet, hadith, how we interpret the Quran, the 4 schools, you name it, is all in here.
Lastly, What would you like to say to a Christian who is watching you right now?
I'll say that Jesus, if you look at the Gospels, did not say he was God. He preaches God. In the Gospels, God is someone other than Jesus. Jesus himself says in the Gospels, a man comes to Jesus and says to him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus says, according to Mark, "Why do you call me good? There is no one good but God alone." That's in the earliest gospel. Jesus denied he was God. He pointed to God. Islam is with Jesus on this. So come back to the original Jesus. You will find him in Islam. You will not find him in what you call Christianity.